Hello and welcome to today's edition of Velocity Kinetics. Today we are just doing what we did last year, a quick review of how the channel went in 2020, because it seemed to be a very popular video, at least compared to how popular our videos normally are. It's a very cold day here today in Suffolk. Well, you can see that. It's awful. So we're just going to have a quick review of how the channel's gone year, and, well, where we're aspiring to go next year. And look at all that. That was foggy as anything the last 2 days. Been absolutely nuts. Although the frost is impressive to look at. But anyway, like I said, quick review, how the channel's gone, where we're going next for this year, and a quick apology that I will say up front, I'm not sure I can get as much content out in 2020 at all. Not even close. I'll explain why. But yeah, let's get on, shall we? So, as to what happened with the channel for this year, or rather last year, 2020, as a whole, 2020 was quite an unusual year, as it was for everyone. No one was... I'm trying to think how to put it. There's no competition between people as to what happened last year, and indeed continuing on into this year. It has been an absolutely terrible thing to go on. It's been terrible to work through for those of us who've had to work from home. It has been terrible to see family members work through it and have to cope with it. It's just been terrible. As for the channel, so the end of 2020, episode 89 went out. To put this into context, at the start of 2020, the very first video of 2020, which went out on the 5th of January last year, was episode number 58. So if I've done the maths correctly, that is 31 episodes that have gone out in 2020, which I personally feel is quite impressive. To put that another way, it means that the channel this year has been able to put out a video on average once every 11.77 days. So a video once nearly 11 3/4 days, nearly once every 12 days, which is just short of, depending on how you look at it, it means about 2 a month. If you apply a little bit of logic to it, it's about 2 a month, nearly 3 a month, which I personally feel is very impressive. Now, at the start of the year, I was working in a call centre until obviously we're told to start working from home. So when I worked in the call centre, my shift pattern was 7-3, 10-6, 11-7, 1-9, and I do one of those every week. So I would start at 7-3, a week 7-3, then, so on and so forth. However, I'd often be doing a lot of overtime, and I would often be picking up the 7-3 slides, because who wouldn't rather get up at stupid o'clock in the morning and be done by 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Or if you're going to do overtime, then start at 7, normal shift finish at 3, and then do a couple of hours until 5, or do an hour and a half's overtime. And the way the company I worked for did it was, if you worked an hour and a half overtime, you're entitled to a break. So I actually only did an hour and a quarter overtime. But there were also some immense 12-hour long shifts in there. I kept to a very strict rule of not doing overtime on my days off. I probably could have earned a lot more if I'd actually gone in on my days off, but you then never have a day away from the place. Even if you're only going in for 4 hours overtime, it's still the principle of getting up and going in to that place again. Then mid-March, everything went south. I did briefly work from home, so I was able to do a few more videos and get some that are in the pipeline tidied up. And when things went quiet, then I went back into the office, because I can't work from home. or rather I couldn't work from home very easily. So when we were eventually got back into the office, we just worked as normal, and then one day I got in and I was just told to go home, which in the middle of March I wasn't the best way forwards. I had to just take my headset and go. I was using my own PC, and that eventually packed in, and there were too many problems. And then we were told to start taking phone calls with our mobiles and using these. Now, I don't know about you, but if you look at the NHS guidelines on using earbuds and ear devices, they recommend that you don't use these for long periods of time. If you have to use things like this for a long period of time, then you out of every hour you take at least a 5-minute break, and that's what I wanted. They didn't. My work kind of refused. From my perspective, they were being dicks about it. And then I was put onto a different project. This other project meant doing live chat from home, being a smart agent, or whatever you want to call it. This was an interesting project, to say the least, but it also could get very quiet. And what would I do when it got very quiet? Well, I would, because I got the webcam in front of me, when it got very quiet, I would start recording videos. And there was one day where I did not do my first chat with a customer until 11 o'clock in the morning. Now, bearing in mind I'd been logged in since 9, I didn't take my first chat until 11 o'clock in the morning. I did my last chat with someone at 2:30 in the afternoon. So that was a lot of free time. The trade is I got paid for it all, so not to complain. Not a complaint, it just meant I was able to get a lot of content filmed. So then when that project ended, I was put onto a different project, which meant doing a lot of work that came into an email inbox, and was to work from home. However, in the middle of all this, my dearly beloved PC decided to break. I personally feel it was the company's software, because whenever I've used it, my computer runs hotter, you can hear it working a lot harder. Now, some people would say, yeah, yes, but the fact at the time, I think I had 5 hard drives in there. That was pulling a lot of power. Obviously got quite a big graphics card. Not the biggest graphics card, but it was quite big. I think it was a 2 gigabyte graphics card, GDDR4, I think it is. And I had the AMD FX processor running in there as well. Running quite high temperatures quite a lot of the time, and computer was on all day. Trader Physics is meant to be a workhorse. I game on the computer, I edit on the computer, I record on the computer. A little bit of work from home shouldn't have been the problem, but my company doesn't have the greatest track record with software. Not by a long shot. If there is a complicated way to do it, you can bet your bottom dollar my company will not only find the way to do it, but stick to doing it that way, which baffles my mind. So in the middle of the year, I then had to rebuild part of the computer. I had 2 hard drives fail on me. 2, I don't know why I'm doing that when I mean 2, that shows the level of my maths. 2 1 terabyte hard drives went. One of them was a hybrid drive, so part solid state, part traditional hard drive. And I had to do an enormous amount of sudden backing up of folders, because I could tell one of the hard drives was starting to fail. Granted, the 1 terabyte hard drive was an older drive, but it shouldn't have failed. I've had hard drives in my computer that are nearly 10 years old and they work fine. So give with one, take with the other, I suppose. So I've then upgraded to a solid state hard drive, which is smaller, faster, makes some of the editing a lot easier, and some of the rendering time a lot faster. Not massively, but faster is faster. Then got issued a Works laptop, which meant I couldn't always record because I'd have the computer in front of me and that there, so I'd usually be listening or watching something on YouTube or my music and then be working on the laptop. Sometimes I would record videos at the same time, because again, this work would sometimes go very, very quiet. So with that last project, when I was using the laptop, I couldn't quite get as much recorded, but there will also be times where there'd be nothing to do. There was one afternoon we had nothing. Granted, it was a Friday, and usually Fridays were a lot quieter, but when you haven't had any work to do since 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, you usually find other things to do. And then we had the problems with our internet provider before we moved from South Shields to Risby. They turned it off early, well documented on the page. Then I had my 2 weeks holiday where we moved, didn't get my internet back, started in a new part of, worked for the same company as a completely different area of the business. I personally feel a better area of the business, not as toxic. When I moved, I couldn't quite get as much content recorded because of the internet problem. I couldn't obviously record because I like to record, edit and upload. I don't particularly like having 2 or 3 projects on the go. I have had 2 or 3 projects on the go before, and it's just hard to know which order to prioritize them in, and it's also led to, as discussed in the YouTube blog, it can lead to content walls and issues, and potentially the videos suddenly becoming not relevant. When I did get my internet connected again, we were getting 1.16 megabits upload speed. Now, to put that into context, I was promised at least 10 megabits a second upload speed, so I was getting a fraction of what I was told. On average, the videos that upload to Velocity Kinetics are 7 gigabytes a piece. So I just had to put my phone on now because my manager might need to contact me. I've been off work yesterday because I had to have a COVID test. Thankfully negative, but still. Anyway, where was I? So yes, the videos for Velocity Kinetics are on average 7 gigabytes per file, which takes a long time to upload even with a fast internet connection. I'd say on average, from hitting upload to YouTube being able to share it, on average that would be 45 minutes. Granted, some people would say, yeah, but some of that's YouTube's time and effort and so on and so forth. Like, yeah, I guess so a lot of it is YouTube's side of things, but YouTube does what it can. So we've had that, and then we've got here, we've changed internet provider after that, so we're now with BT, direct fibre, a lot faster, a lot more secure. Part of the issue is because where we live, we're in a village. Granted, Bury St Edmunds is only 5 miles away, even less depending on how the crow flies. It's not the end of the world. However, the reason why I say depends on how the crow flies is because of where we are in the village. We're about sort of slap bang in the middle almost, but we were at the end of the fibre line. So when they installed fibre in the area, my landlord was he's a very loquacious and very eloquent man. He wrote a letter to the MP, who turns out to be Health Secretary Matt Hancock. But anyway, politics aside, David, the landlord, had gotten the village fibre a few years ago. Unfortunately, it means when they've sort of done everywhere else, and then this very house is the end of the fibre line. His house is the one before last, and the other house he owns is, you get the drift. For some reason, this house is the last one, so it's never going to get the fastest. Even again, as the crow flies, we're pretty close to the junction box, so who knows. But anyway, faster internet, that's fine. We've done some different types of video this year. We've brought in the Xbox a few times. We've used the record feature. Anyone who has an Xbox One, remember when you used to use the Kinetic, and you'd say Xbox record that. You get a 30-second snapshot. There's been some of those Xbox record that. There's also a feature where it will just record your gameplay on a 10-minute loop, which is not too bad. It's what I've used when I've used the Forza games. There's been no green screen videos this year, particularly since we've moved, because I haven't got anywhere I can put it up. As you can tell by the beams, this is quite an old cottage. This is a cottage built supposedly in 1650, or what shall we say, it's built somewhere around there, somewhere between 1600 and 1700. They don't know when, so 1650 is the date they tend to go with. So I haven't really always got somewhere I can put up the green screen. Never mind the fact that one of the rooms where I could probably do it doesn't have the greatest of light, because cottage windows are low down and quite small. from an old thing called window tax. If you're interested in history, then give a read into something about that. But also one of the rooms is still full of boxes from moving, because I went to work pretty much after the end of my holiday. I moved, had about 8 days off on holiday, and then went back to work. And I had a week off. In December after that. That's it. Otherwise, it's been constant. Bank holidays off, obviously, but even then, there's only been one bank holiday. But because I now work, well, prior to last week, because I've had to change the location where I work is changing in turn. That location has different hours. Prior to that, I was getting Saturday, Sunday off every week. In many ways, we've gotten quite lucky. But then Sarah's gone straight into work, and she qualified, which is brilliant. But dealing with the COVID side of things, I don't know about anyone else who might watch this channel who's got family who are care workers or agency staff or nurses and nursing assistants, or what's the other position Sarah told me it was? Like a nursing apprentice is the only way I can describe it. You'll know that they need a lot of help and support during this time, or when they've had a lot of admissions, you have to start treating their uniform like it's made of dynamite. It is quite something. However, this year we have done a few different types of videos. For instance, so I'm just I know I should be looking at the camera, and I realised that watching back some of the old content, I'm terrible for not looking at the camera, because usually I've got about 8 or 9 different things running through my mind at any one time. But also because I also like to make sure the software is working and get paranoid that it's not going to work. But anyway, so I'm just dropping onto the YouTube page. So what have we done differently this year? So we've had, let me just go back to the start of the year. Have we had as many views as we would like? No, not at all. But anyway, so we've had the episode 60, which was the 2019 review. That was, granted, that was not anything particularly different. Now, episode 62, when we talked about the future of the car, that was driving around. I used my GoPro camera. Well, it's not an actual GoPro, it's a cheap knockoff. I think the battery inside is absolutely knackered. I need to see if I can find a way of replacing that or fixing it. But anyway, that's when we were driving around Newcastle. It was about a 40-minute long video. That's actually one of the most popular videos this year, if not the most popular, but that was a bit different. We've obviously talked about issues with the Baleno, issues that continue to rumble on. We did the video, which was a montage-y type video of washing the car and repairing the damage to the front bumper. It's got more damage now, but anyway, that was quite an interesting one to record. Did it all on my phone. There are quite a lot of videos where I've just used my phone for it. This year we launched We Answer, so I think that was started at episode 69. That was We Answer is quite an interesting series to film. It's very interesting. I like recording it. I haven't got a huge bank of questions at the moment. If I did and written down somewhere, then I have not got a clue where I've put it. So we've done a few episodes of We Answer. We've obviously had the very impassioned video, well, I feel it was impassioned, episode 72, talking about Williams, it's episode 72, I beg your pardon. Episode 73, Why Williams Why, is what it was called. Not as many views as we'd like, but that was very impassioned. Episode 74 and 75, we introduced the Xbox into things. I liked using that to demonstrate things for We Answer. That was episode number 74. We Answered. Episode 75 was was an alternate F1 circuits video. Got to see some of my not so fantastic Forza driving, but it was alright. Then episode 77. That was personally one of my favourites, because a lot of people don't appreciate what it's like to wear glasses, and then when they put them on, they go, whoa, 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 it's tripping. Like, that's not how I see. That's not how I see it all. Now, some people might say, yeah, you didn't need to, you could have sped the video up, I could have done it differently. Yeah, I probably could have done the video very differently, and I was very late to the party with it. because of my work schedule, Sarah's work schedule, because she was one of the student nurses that opted in to help out during the COVID crisis, and it meant I couldn't record it as when I wanted, and so I sort of missed the boat because it was done on the back of Dominic Cummings doing something quite stupid. But anyway, that was a different way of doing things. And then we've had the car troubles video in July. Let me have a look. I'm trying to see where I started using it. So it was about episode 72, I think it was. I started putting burning something in the corner of the video, so putting the logo on. So I realised sort of very late that, hang on a minute, I've got no way to protect my content. So put that on. Granted, it doesn't stop people from cropping, and some people are extremely clever what they can and can't do with After Effects, so it's not foolproof, but sort of one of those things like, oh, I should have been doing that for a very long time. Then let's have a look, what else did we do? So we've done things about Hamilton, we've done a lot more about issues with the Balena, because it was not a good year for my It was not a good year for my car and the maintenance, etc. We've done an introduction for How to Drive, that new series. Again, I haven't had much chance to record it. And why have I not had a chance to record it? Well, to be honest, I want to use that dining room table, and there's a leak wherever someone's in the shower, so I don't want to leave things I want out to record for it to get soaked. So there we are. We've done the check your headlights PSA. I found that one quite interesting. The other video that's got the most views this year, which I brought back the video capture software for it. It was the Suzuki Swace video. Had a few puns with Dirty Dancing within it. Again, that was quite interesting. I wasn't expecting to sort of have Suzuki knocking on the door with, "Hey, do you want a Swace? Do you want to borrow one?" Not at all. Because the channel's not big enough for that, and neither is the Facebook page. But that was an interesting one to record, sort of trying to review something you haven't had a chance to look at. And then we did the road tax video, which one I personally feel about, say no to road pricing. Motorists are not cash cows. But within that video, there's a section where the text and words sort of synchronize up. That took me the better part of a week to do, and that was a week after work, doing it after work before getting Sarah's. So I'd say there's about 10 hours work gone into getting that to work as I wanted it to. And then we finished off with the year with the current issue of driving hybrids. Now, our video length is varied across the course of the year. How to Drive is the shortest video. The Future of the Car is the longest video, as far as I can tell. Yes. So I'd say on average we're looking at about 30 minutes of video, which some people would say that's too long, and admittedly, yes, sometimes it is too long. I mean, heck, this video is going to be a long one as well. We've tried to overcome different issues. I know sometimes the audio has not been the greatest off the webcam. That's why Sarah got me a lapel mic for I just made that awful. Sarah got me a lapel mic for Christmas. I've also tried using different hand mics as well, which haven't been brilliant. Sometimes it would have been better, sometimes it hasn't. But yes, so that's been the year in the channel. As for this coming year, well, as I mentioned at the start of in the introduction, I don't foresee being able to get as much out. Not as in I've given up, not as in I can't be bothered or anything like that. Because it gives me, if nothing else, this channel gives me a piece of mindless escapism which you can't put a price on, to be honest. Actually, I've just remembered, we haven't just done videos this year. We have done written blog, and I think it was just the YouTube one that was took me quite a long time to write as well. So anyway, back to what I was saying. I don't foresee being able to get as much out this year because, well, Sarah and I are getting married this year, if COVID permits. So obviously there'll be that life change. If we can afford to save and move into a new house, then of course, I don't mean as in, well, you said you weren't going to move. Like, I mean as in if we somehow find ourselves in a position to own a house, then, you know, who doesn't want to stop renting and actually own their own house? So if we find ourselves in that position, then we will be taking full advantage of it. Sarah's going to be learning to drive. I've done some teaching with her, but that obviously takes time, and then obviously there'll be a second car to potentially start getting and running. I do a lot of cover in different places. So in December I was in 3 different locations providing cover. And one of those locations is a 40-minute train ride away. Why the train? Well, I don't particularly want to drive into the middle of Cambridge, which is where I was covering, and the train just takes me pretty much directly. I think a 20-minute walk, and I'm right. A 20-minute walk in a dead straight line, and I'm there. So that's just a no-brainer. The new location I'm working out of is very nice, but it involves Saturday working, and my Tuesday, quite a lot of Tuesdays, at least for the time being, are going to sort of effectively become my Saturdays. So every other Tuesday is going to become a Saturday, which it is what it is. Not do I like it? No, but part of the requirements of working this location is Saturday work. So unless COVID changes the guidelines, which it's wrong for me to hope it does, but I'd be a liar if I sat here and said I really hope COVID makes it so we don't have to work on Saturdays, at least for a little while. But also at the work, I've got to go through a lot of training. I've got to become accredited, and in part of this accreditation, it means getting a lending license. So there is a lot of change there. And then if there's any other personal professional development I want to undertake, that's obviously going to play quite a large part too. So if we can do it, we will. If we can't, but I'm not going to push myself and break myself to do it. Unfortunately, this year I wanted to do a video with Russ this year, but it just never materialised. Not for lack of trying on both of our parts. Maybe we can get one done this year, but we'll see. He's got his own thing to be worried about, which more than understand. As for what changes, because I also mentioned there might be some changes, I might be farming some of the editing out to my brother to do, because his degree is in media production. All the editing I've done so far, I'm pretty sure, I won't put nail my colours to the mast, I don't think. Something in the back of my mind tells me I asked him to edit one, but I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure every video so far, it's nearly 100 videos, it's just been myself recording, having the idea, recording, editing, uploading. So he might do some of the editing going forwards. He might also start featuring more on the channel. Sarah might feature more on the channel. So there are some changes happening. As always, we ask people to continue to donate to us via paypal.me/VelocityKinetics, or even start donating, because we haven't had any. Because it enables us to get better equipment. It enables us to potentially look at things like, if we start getting donations, so then maybe we can look at going on to Patreon or something like that. We again looked at Patreon this year, but we just don't make enough content. To me, we don't make enough content to even swim on that platform. That said, I might still give it more of a look this year, because that might be a way though to get into content and get into more fans, and talk more about motoring and F1 and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's been an interesting year, to say the least. The channel's grown a lot. The Facebook page has stayed more or less the same. I think actually, if anything, we've lost a few people. I think the number's about the same, but rather than going up, some people have either left Facebook or unliked the page, as is their right to do, and some other people have joined in on the likes on the page. So like I say, we're about there or thereabouts. Share the Facebook page, like the Facebook page, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because without that, there's no point in, well, I'm trying to say there's no point, but it makes it harder to have the motivation to keep going. If you have any suggestions for videos, don't be afraid to message, don't be afraid to leave a comment. I'm never going to say no to a free idea for a video. We might get the green screen out again, because I liked doing those sort of videos. It sort of brings it back to how this channel started, when it's still on my own YouTube channel. there'll be a lot more videos done outside, I think, because I've got a huge garden to utilise. And yeah, we'll see how the year goes. Look after yourselves. Let's have a good year, everyone. Wear your mask, use your hand gel, just keep safe, everyone, regardless of what country you're from. I know we've got a few people who are on the page who are not from the UK, so wherever you guys are, stay safe, and do what you can to control the spread of this virus, and maybe we can all be back to some sense of more normalcy. I don't think we're going to go back to how things used to be, so if nothing else on the cleaning front, we won't be going back to. It makes you realise how filthy places were. Not that they were unhygienic, it's just yeah, we've dropped the ball, we've cut too many corners. But we'll see what happens. I've got one other plan for this year, but I'm going to keep that under my hat, because if it goes as well as if the plan goes how I'd like, then it means a new chapter for Velocity Kinetics. So until the next time, whenever that's going to be, look after yourselves and drive safe.